Any additional guidelines on getting commercial financing in the United States affected by the decline of oil and such as in Oklahoma and Texas and Louisiana? Discounted cash flow should be at least 2 times, if not 3, 4, 5. I agree. Yes, they should be. What business exists? What business to invest or buy when governments are bankrupt? The governments aren't going to go bankrupt. Is it a good time to buy now to better postpone? You're initiating purchase conversations and negotiations now, and the price will drop the longer COVID-19 lasts. Are there new scripts for the sellers during the chaotic? No. In the immediate next few months, before the potential sellers digest the market is down, how do we make them realize that the market is never going to be as good as it was? It's not your job to convince them. Next. What countries show greater potential to invest? It's not invest. I told you Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Germany, Holland, the UK. Would Mr. Peña still suggest attempt to acquire businesses and now have a 50% drop in top line? Yes, but you're paying 50% less. 10 key QLA life elements to apply during Corona. Just look at the site, you fucking moron. How will it affect the assisted living industry? It's going to affect it where the prices are going down. Do you think big companies will start divesting assets, creating a golden opportunity? Yes, I do. Should aggressive effort being made to contact companies prior to the quarantine ending, or will the shit hit the fan when everybody comes back to work? No, you increase your efforts now. How do we respond, update board members on our thoughts, plans? Well, John, you've done a pretty piss poor job of updating anybody so far. Why start worrying about it now? What must I do to take full advantage of this chaotic economic environment and make a lot of money in the process? Healthcare is still where it is. Mr. Peña, for the next 12 to 24 months, what is your strategy to allocate your assets, say by rough? No, I have no stocks. I have nothing else. I don't do any of that. All I have is cash. I'm currently planning to finance my deal by crowdfunding from private investors through my own and my board network to invest into my deal, exchange, equity, and debt. Can you share some stories or examples of your mentees? No, crowdfunding is not my thing, although Marcus Bauer, as I said at the one day in London on January 18th, broke the crowdfunding record. He funded his whole deal in 2 minutes and 32 seconds. What are the priority key indicators, steps we need to pay attention to QLA? All the steps. Market capitalization, loans, options given to the country government, relocate the assets, global areas less affected. I'm not going to... Listen, Mr. PhD, you're asking questions that have already been answered. You haven't done a goddamn thing so far, so why don't you put your finger out and just take some action? Make 2,000 calls and you've got a deal done. What is the biggest adjustment that we have to make in QLA methodology due to the current? We have to significantly increase our output of calls. Due to the current situation, is there an industry that you see best opportunity to get in as the owners will be desperate? Right where you are. Due to COVID, care homes still hot? Yes. What business segments are the best to capitalize on during the pandemic? Healthcare. What would you foresee in terms of changes in getting professional to work on a success fee during this crisis? I've got kids signing up lawyers and accountants today on delayed fees. I've not secured a law firm yet. So just like to put it out there, as there is likely to be a lockdown, you can get lawyers and accountants without seeing them in person. What business sector that I can make deals during this period? Healthcare. Will accountants and lawyers be more desperate for work? Yes. And we've got them signing up right now. Do I have to be a doctor to get into telemedicine business and board of directors? Certain parts of the world, to set up companies, to buy companies from doctors, you have to be doctors. You have to check for yourself. Considering the COVID-19 panic, what is the best course of action in acquiring health business? 4 or 5 times more phone calls than you're making now. Do you foresee banks extending lending during this crisis to existing customers with strong cash flow? Yes. Irrespective, yes. In order to purchase business, yes. But the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You gotta pound them. You've mentioned that banks will still lend, though slower, blah, blah, blah. Should commercial banks? We've answered that question. Okay. I understand you made most of your money in a down market. That's true. 6 continents, blah, blah, blah. One, can you compare the contrast to macro? Yes, it's not dissimilar, other than I was just in one industry. I know what it's like. Almost every deal that until towards the end of the falling of oil price, every asset I bought was worth less within a month of me purchasing it because of the dropping oil price. Long-term effects on financial institutions regarding lending parameters. It took the banks 4 or 5 years to get back to their sloppy practices after 2008 and 9. It'll probably take them that long, if not longer, this time around. How long will this downturn last? 18 months to 36 months, I've said that. Are banks still doing cash flow lending in healthcare? Yes. It's not 1.5 times now. They want 2 or 3 times debt service. Are these non-recourse? If you don't ask, you won't get. Or are the banks being more selective and requiring collateral now? No. And John, why aren't you asking your board? How would you persuade a firm that tells you from the start, I just want to let you know from that we don't offer services on a success fee? Then don't talk to them anymore. If they're not going to give you success fee basis, don't talk to them anymore. When I cold call business owners to discuss a potential sale, most are too stressed at the moment to discuss. Do you recommend approaching sellers differently during? No. Pound them. Call 10 times more. Which sector industries will benefit most from long-term 5-10 healthcare? Given the ongoing financial chaos, how can we prepare to take on a business with lower profit margin, blah, blah, blah? How can we make sure? Because you're buying them not on historical numbers, you're buying them on future numbers. What is your projection for healthcare assisted living in the United States? It's going to continue to get bigger. Investigate before you invest. What are the hard questions we must be making from now on? Potential sellers. What were your revenues in March 2020? No. What was your cash flow in 2020 as opposed to a year ago? How do you keep the morale up, stay focused when the step becomes a challenge? Well, because you're a muscle-bound cunt, it's harder for you. Man up, you ballless piece of shit. And that goes for everybody on here. I can't believe, I'll say that in the close, I can't believe the lack of manhood that the corona's brought out. How will the banks handle the period of lower revenue during the period of lockdown when because they are going to stress, 1, your guarantee, 2, they want to get more collateral from which you're not going to give them, but you're going to counter with, the purchase price is going to be based on future revenues, and the only way you can do that is, or the major way you can do that, or the best way you can do that is to sell it for that. Will the financial crash be worse than 2008? It's going to be worse in a different way. What are their new facets of opportunities, and what must be avoided considering the deep crisis? There's no new. It's just more calls. Will the current situation diminish Minnesota's will to carry on? Maybe. To carry paper? Maybe, but it's a numbers game. How are you going to get financing from banks and lockdown continues? You're going to be doing it over the internet. How low percentage do you think the property price will fall? Well, I personally believe commercial property prices are going to fall between 25 and 40%.